From Lalate headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons Lalate.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons Lalate with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we go over that recon and where are the negotiations going, the latest details today. We go over the negotiations that now look like they're going to get it done, but the question is when. Democrats have said they would get it done within 2 to 7 days. Are they going to get it done this week? I have the latest breaking details as Joe Manchin speaks to press about the recon with incredible details earlier today. LA told you so. Americans don't know about the recon. So why are two governor races next week big for the recon and big against the recon? I'll explain to you why. The price is right. We had always said 1.7 to 2 trillion. Today, Joe Manchin said none of those numbers work. What's going on? I have the latest details. Then, programs in, programs out. We're learning a little bit more about this, but the situation is unclear because now we wonder if some of the programs we thought were in are going back out again. Then, big money for student loan debt and COLA raises. COLA raises going to raise your benefits up, and fifth stimulus is right behind. Great news with that. And then student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven as we go into a big day. But we are just getting started on a very, very interesting final few hours for this negotiations. As we look forward across the board and understand what's happening next, the question is, where we're landing and where are we going? I have all the incredible details in a very, very fluid situation this afternoon. Situations literally changing by the hour, not by the 6 hours, not by the 8 hours, but literally, order a side of fries and it's changed again. That's all very, very quickly changing. This is the latest update, expected to be different in 2 hours from now. But here we go. It's happening right here, right now, with the latest breaking news on Afternoons Lalate. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. And boy, the weather came out nicely here in Southern California. Sun is out, rain is gone. Programs in, programs out. Also not particularly clear. Senior money and paid leave. Definitely a battleground even right today. We thought it wasn't a battleground anymore. Price is right. We thought this was coming in at the incredible number of 1.7 to 2 trillion. And then suddenly it's not there again. Sort of like our graphic. Can you come back? Thank you. I have the latest details. When will that deal be happening? Americans are sort of confused at the moment, and guess what? Who's to blame? The president. Telling Americans the negotiations with Joe Manchin went really well on Sunday. Not so true, we learned today. From who? Joe Manchin. Then we're going to go over the COLA raise. That's going to raise your benefits up a little bit more, but that's just the start of it. Because fifth stimulus is right behind it. It's incredible, great news. And student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. And then we look over the last year and a half of this channel and we learn a little bit more going forward. I'll have my perspective on the negotiations as a new part of this recording. The final few minutes will be my perspective of where I think things are going, because people always ask me what I think, and I'm going to tell you. And this is a big Afternoons LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, and 140 million viewers in a year and a half. I want you part of this incredible family with the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage of the subject matter in America. Like this video and consider becoming a member. 3 weeks ago, a subcommittee in the House passed a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. Today, the budget bill is being diced, sliced, and cut. So where's it landing? In this recording, we're going to go over each of the clusters, one check at a time, see which one is in there and which one's not in there. But what's important to understand is that if you're a single person, if you're a married person, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you are elderly, if you're young, and if you're in a red state or if you're in a blue state, this recon is going to pay you upwards of about $15,000. As soon as it becomes law, I'm going to show you how to get this incredible sums of money with programs totally brand new They've not been part of our landscape. They've not been part of this country ever before. So there could be new programs, new names, new ways to get this big sums of money, and it's going to be for you. And I'm going to show you how to get this money as soon as it becomes law. Let's go over each of these clusters with the latest breaking news right now. 3 clusters, 3 add-ons starting right now. Cluster number 1, hazard pay and the $4,000 of elder care. No update about the hazard pay yet. That is increasing the earned income tax credit broadly and then increasing the amount of money for those essential workers. $4,000 of elder pay per year, $4,000 of care for young children per year. No update about that either, but we do know that the home health care is getting in there. So it may be sliding in approved under that wing. Then the money for the college students, college grants, and the Pell Grant made tax-free. We do have an update about that. It's staying in there. It survived. The CTC, the child tax credit, we do have an update about that. It is not going to be 5 years at $51,000 or 18 years at $51,000. It's going to be 1 year, $3,600 or $3,000 for a individual who makes $60,000 or less. Their family would get that money. Then the money for the home, we have no direct update about the money for the home, but the home package, which was out, is back in. So it's presumed to be in there under that wing. And that is home repairs if you live in a low-income community. Definitely free, totally free. It's incredible sums of money. And then the money for the bikes, cars, and trucks, we know update about that. That would be 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike, $7,500 for a new electric vehicle, personal use, a little bit more for business use. The first add-on from Maxine's Waters, we do have some update about that. She's asked for $25,000 for the purchase price of a new first home buyer. Definitely not going in there at $25,000. There's nothing in this package that's going to pay anyone one single check of $25,000. But it might slide in under the home money because guess what? It got in there and it's staying in there after it was removed. What went on here? Maxine Waters put in $200 to $250 billion of money for renters, mortgage assistance, home repairs, utilities. A lot more than third stimulus, was $46 billion. She got $200 to $300 billion approved. It was out by Thursday last week. Then it went back in at $100 billion. Now it's at 175 and still growing. So good news on that. It's back in there. Let's go to the second cluster of checks, which is those home repairs likely staying in there. That's the weatherizing home. Paid leave, boy, what a battleground that one is. So let's go over the details one at a time. The child care programs, the household tax credits, believed to still stay in there. The pre-kindergarten believed to stay in there. The community college, 0 to 2 years likely to survive, not longer than 2 years. The weatherizing your home likely to stay in there under the wing of the Maxine Waters provision, the home items, and then the paid family leave and paid medical leave. Surviving, but totally different, much smaller, lower eligibility. I have that more coming up in the second half of this video. I also have a lot more in this tuition-free community college later in this video. A lot of people thought it was out. The president said it was out on Wednesday. Jalop also is out. Now we've been being heard that it's going to be in there about 2 years or less. I think it still could go out. I mean, I think it's a very fluid situation, so it's very, very dicey at the moment, but it is one of those battlegrounds. One of those battlegrounds where you see it coming out, unlike the housing aid. Went back, it was out, then went back in, it's staying in there. That's the good news. The second add-on, really surprising, really great news on this one. This is the home health care, which was one of the president's campaign promises. It was in there at $500 billion, unbeknownst to me. Then Bob Casey put it in there at $250 billion. Then it was out. Well, guess what? It got back in there, and it's staying in there. It's unclear where it's going to be. I have a little bit more about that number later in this video. It's going to be more than $100 billion, but it's not going to be $250 billion. And this is home health care free for individuals who can't afford it, and also for seniors and people on disability. Great news for their children, who Bob Casey talked about. He wanted to allow them to be able to get back to work because they're taking care of their parents because home health care is too expensive. Now it'll be free, provided to you by the state. Federal government give the state the big money. Let's go to that third cluster of checks, where the big battleground is. I'm going to go over each check at a time and show you where they are at the moment. Free school meals for all checks. We believe it's in there, but we haven't had a direct update about it. Cheaper prescription medication. It survived, but totally brand new. I'll explain that later in this video. The money for the farmers, no update about that. I really don't know. The free internet, no update about that either. Clean energy, definitely out. That's the Joe Manchin provision. The money for the independent contractors, no update about that either. The Medicare expansion, which is lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. The dental, vision, and hearing staying in there, but really a battleground and really totally different. I have a lot on that in the second half of this video. The second half of this video, we'll be going over things like how many years, who gets a voucher, how much is the voucher, what's the eligibility. We're going to go over incredible specificity and go over where the range of the negotiations are on certain provisions, as they do not have a fluid situation right at the moment. Let's go to the third add-on, which is that MSC, that monthly IRS stimulus check, which is very important. That IRS monthly stimulus check provision was promised to us by House and Senate members, and guess what? You're going to see throughout the scope of this reporting of this video that we have House and Senate members saying, I'm not part of the negotiations, so I'm going to insert things when I want to insert things. And this is very important because you're going to see in the update of this video, brand new stuff today, that the recon is shrinking dramatically, but certain people coming forward and saying, you know what, I have to have a say, and I'm not going to approve it unless I have my say. This is big because we have 3 places where they can add that monthly stimulus check provision. First, they can add it after we have a recon package, but before we have a recon bill on the House side. Number 2, it may not be in the House bill, but they can add it by amendment before they vote on the House side. That's what Omar, AOC, and Jalapal's office and Pelosi's office has said over the last month. Number 3, if the House members don't take care of it, the Senate members can take care of it. Yesterday, Sunday, Nancy Pelosi said that starting on Monday, I'm waiting for the senators to give me their input on what they want to add on. Senators can add it on. Where? In the Votorama. What is that? A 2-day event at the very end of the process where the senators vote on changes they want to add to whatever is given to them from the House. Now, understand, it's very, very commonplace, very, very normal that senators have a lot of changes that they want to do to the House bill. And those changes sometimes are totally brand new things, nothing even discussed on the House bill. They've been doing this forever. That's why it's called the Votorama. They did it under third stimulus when the senators saw, Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer, that the president may forgive student loan debt, and forgiveness of student loan debt is a taxable event. I mean, you have to pay $10,000 to $20,000 of money out of your pocket when that debt is forgiven. Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer saw the House bill didn't even talk about it, so they put it in there as a provision in that Votorama. That is why it's very important to pay attention to that Votorama. And with that, we go into the third part of the equation, which is advocacy. And the advocacy is so important because you're going to see throughout the scope of this recording that senators and House members are stepping forward and saying, you know what, don't take out my provision. Don't water down my provision. You got to do the same thing. Everyone is pushing and fighting. In fact, the word Nancy Pelosi says is she's fighting for provisions. You got to do the same thing. Can't sit back and hold the donut. Here we go. This is the message from those legislators. They now have, in total, between congressional and senatorial offices, received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the American Petition. Now they have a better understanding of what the average American are trying to do and get through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories through the LA viewers, and they have the voice of the people in you, LA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Wow, very, very kind. Then let's read the last sentence on air together because it concerns you and me, and boy, is it ever important. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as the professional voice of the people you have become, Lalate, and continue to push until this becomes a law. Very, very kind. What does it mean? We have to advocate down to the finish line. You have to advocate before we have a House bill, after we have a House bill, before we have a Votorama, while we're having a Votorama, and certainly right now, while they're negotiating provisions. You're going to see during this recording that the president brought Joe Manchin to the state of Delaware, to his home in Delaware, the president's own home, to negotiate with Joe Manchin on Sunday. President wanted to advocate, Joe Manchin wanted to advocate. This is what you have to do as well. You have to pick up the phone and call. Did you call any senators this week? Did you call Chuck Schumer, Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, Chris Coons, Bob Casey? Did you advocate why you need it? How many people did you call? How many senators did you call? Remember, House members did you call? Remember, the advocacy is very important because everyone is battling on this recon. The recon is not anything etched in stone at all. by the minute, by the hour, provisions being taken in and out. And the second half of this video, we're going to go over the battleground and where those provisions are. It's getting very exciting. It's getting to be very good. I have all the details coming up in the second half of this video. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues right now, direct from Santa Monica, as a deal could be happening in your recon. They did not formulate the framework by the end of last week. And at the time of this recording, they haven't framed it yet. So can they get the framework agreed upon today? Can they get the vote done this week? I have the latest details and the latest comments from several negotiators. Then, LA told you so. Americans don't know what's in the recon. So why is a governor race in New Jersey and Virginia next week important for the recon? This is breaking news. Then The Price is Right. Breaking news here as well. Are we heading to 1.5 trillion suddenly? I'll tell you what's going on. Then, programs in, programs out. The latest rundown, and boy, it's getting fluid. Then, the exciting details as more student loan debt could be forgiven. And finally, this stimulus heating up. This is the benefits right after COLA. I have those details and more as we go into a second half of this recording. It's a big day, and the excitement's just getting started. And this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, and then Evenings LA at 5 o'clock. Make sure you watch that show. The news cycle will be totally different by Evenings LA. It has been that way for now a week. Like this video, consider becoming a member, like this video, and also consider becoming a member so you get that newsletter delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to you about the big money under first, second, and third stimulus. And with that, let's go into what is happening right now. And boy, it is fascinating. The President of the United States met with Joe Manchin on Sunday in his residence in Delaware. Immediately, one of the number one broadcast channels, actually the number one in America, ran a story that a deal was reached with Joe Manchin on Sunday in Delaware at 1.7 trillion. I immediately told Americans it did not happen. There was no deal. Today, we learn that, in fact, the negotiations in Delaware didn't reveal anything or achieve anything. Wow. Joe Manchin appeared in a Chatterfest at the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. today, early this morning, talking about what happened over the weekend, what happened last week. And now we have a different insight as to really what did happen. First, when asked, did he and the president reach any agreement? Manchin said basically no. We had a nice visit. I really did. I had a nice visit. I basically said to the president, Mr. President, my philosophy of politics is different than yours. Now get ready to step away from the cutlery in the room and put your feet down and move away from the china because you're not going to like this comment. He says, Mr. President, my philosophy of politics is different than yours. My philosophy is the government should be my partner, not my provider. Oh, yeah. And I meant that literally and figuratively. And when I left, I thought it was a very positive meeting. There was a lot of things we got together. We was a more perfect union. Did they achieve anything? No. But he basically said he thinks the role of the government is not to be your provider about anything. Okay. Then Manchin also said he met with Sanders and Jalopal repeatedly last week. The president made a comment a few days ago that this is Joe Manchin talking. Manchin said that the president, I think he made a comment a couple weeks ago. What do you think about Joe and Bernie in the same room? He said, I think it would be homicide. And Joe Manchin said on Sunday, I said, Mr. President, I took your advice, and Bernie and I have met several times, at least an hour over the last few days, and got along together, and we respect and disagree with the approach. Did they achieve anything? No. They agreed to disagree. And then as to Jalopal, sort of shady, Jalopal says she really likes him in their really first meeting. And Joe Manchin says, I never knew her, and she didn't know me. And I explained, Pramila, you represent Silicon Valley. I represent an energy state where people are struggling and have always struggled. A little shady there, isn't it? I represent a state where people are struggling. You represent rich billionaires in Silicon Valley. Yeah. And guess who's the one that wants to give us a lot of money? A little interesting. So we have two different points of view. We made sure to make sure we do take care of everybody. Very interesting last sentence there. It's inconsistent. It's contradictory to his prior sentence. He said, we make sure what we do takes care of everybody. Interesting. So before he says he's not very big on taking care of people. Now he says he is interested in taking care of people. Then the really interesting one is that revenue pay-fors. Remember, Joe Manchin is on board for corporate tax raise. Joe Manchin is on board for the wealth tax to pay for the recon, those two provisions. Kristen Sinema, not at all. And so the president's scampering to get those pay-fors by doing corporate minimum tax and closing global loopholes. Well, Joe Manchin said that the Kristen Sinema backup plan is, quote, screwed up and cannot happen. He said that those provisions don't make sense and they will never fly. I said to the president, do you understand how messed up it is to think that Uncle Sam is going to be watching? I told him this cannot happen. That's screwed up, referring to the Kristen Sinema backup plan. Very interesting. So Manchin saying, I will do your thing, Mr. President, but the Sinema backup plan, because Sinema won't do what I want to do, won't survive. He says, Manchin describes the meeting with the president, with the staffers who were in the room. They were all looking at each other and said, who the world put this in here? Manchin said, the president, I said, I think Joe's right on that. So I think this one's going to be gone. Okay. If I'm understanding this correctly, this is one of the revenue pay-fors for the recon. Joe Manchin's on board for everything to pay for the recon, the corporate taxes and the wealth taxes, which people make over $400,000 a year. Kristen Sinema is not. And so the president had a backup plan. Now the president, Joe Manchin, says, you can't do this. It won't work. It functionally won't work. And the president looked at his staffers and said, I think Joe Manchin's right. Who the world wrote this damn crap? Then Schumer said, I think we will have a final deal within reach. Notice Schumer is changing the expression from later this week to now within reach. We remain confident that the final deal is within reach. The progress of the last week illustrates we can stick together and find a legislative sweet spot, and then we can achieve it. Schumer said the next few days will be very hard. My opinion situation, they're going to get done. They're going to get done. The next few days are very hard, but something needs to be pushing it to get hard. All right, so here is where the situation is getting very interesting. I'm going to cut right to something that's very, very peculiar, and I go right at it right now. A new CBS poll released last week said 90% of Americans don't know that the recon exists, don't even know it exists, and that 10% of Americans know it exists but cannot tell you what's in there. Okay, you got that? You got that. So why do Democrats care about two governor's races next week? There is a governor's race in Virginia and a governor's race in New Jersey next week, and Democrats are worried that they don't get the recon by then, it's going to hurt the races. I think this is hogwash. If no one knows the recon exists, then why are they going to vote against the governor if they don't know the recon exists? Yeah, so I think this is excuse making, but I like the comment from Jim McGovern, Democrat from Massachusetts. You're going to like it as well. He says, I will not support the infrastructure unless there's agreement on the recon. And I think we're going to get it, but we have to come together. Very, very, very important comment. Here comes the very strange situation is where is this recon going? Joe Manchin asked during this economic conference in D.C. today, where's the recon going? Let's recap. President says $2 trillion. President's still at $2 trillion. President's not moved off of $2 trillion. He's very good on that. He's not moved on that number. Progressives, the moderate Democrats said they'll go to 1.9. Joe Manchin and Chris Christine said they'll go to 1.7. What did Joe Manchin say today? He said again today, I really like 1.5. Yeah. So here is really where the situation is getting very peculiar for me to look at, which is I don't know and you don't know where people may start to fold as lawn chairs. Here is a series of quotes that came in today. Progressives. Jalapal. The vast majority of our priorities are in, but there are a couple areas where it's still not the case. What we continue to do is push as hard as we can to just recognize that there are 50 senators and we have no margin in the Senate, so nobody can take the progressives' vote for granted. Okay, that entire quote sounded like, to the last sentence, we're going to get our stuff in there, meaning it sounded like if we don't get it all done, we won't get it all done. We'll just have to take something out. And then we get to the last sentence and it says, you can't take progressives for granted. Does that mean they're going to block? They're not going to pass the recon unless everything is in there? Remember Jalapal's quote, and this is why you stay with me. Jalapal's quote a week ago saying, is less better than nothing? She said, absolutely not. People have been doing less for their entire life. We're not going to do that anymore. Now it looks like maybe she wants to do less, maybe she doesn't. Who's also seen this sort of confusing situation? Broadcast media. Broadcast media is now asking, wait a second, with Joe Manchin mentioning 1.5 today, what happened to Jalapal, who no less than 2 weeks ago told press, and I ran the quote, when asked about 1.5, she said, that's not going to happen. Should I run the video? She actually said, I believe it's Jake Tapper. She said 1.5 is never going to happen. And Bernie Sanders said, as to dental, vision, and hearing benefits, any one of those being removed, he said it's a non-negotiable. So I don't know. Are they holding their ground? Or are they folding like lawn chairs? I really don't know. Steny Hoyer said, take something. Thank you, Steady. If we don't act like we're winning, the American people won't believe it either. But Bob Casey, who you know is great, he wants to give you a stimulus check. His office said he wants to give you a stimulus check. He wants to do the elder care. He says it's really frustrating. It's simple as that. Where will we land is still a really robust investment in people that are often left out. So, mindset. Will it be this is better than nothing, or will it be this is not enough? Jalapal said a few weeks ago, little is not enough, and Bob Casey saying it's still robust enough that it's better than nothing. Veronica Escobar says we're heading towards a win. Will it be everything that we want? It's clear that it will not be. It's just a matter of how much we'll be able to keep in. And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but just only a couple of chefs. And then the 1.5 number, which is very problematic. Why is 1.5 problematic? Let's go over the details. Recon provisions at the moment that are surviving are coming in about $100 to $200 billion. If they were $300, $500 billion, they're being reduced by shortening the duration. So they're $100 to $200 billion programs. So when we go from $2 trillion down to 1.7, we're removing maybe two programs. You're going from $2 trillion to 1.5. You're removing maybe three programs, maybe four programs. So each step is very significant. Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii says it would be a major disappointment to cut the recon to 1.5, and she's, quote, not happy. She says she's open-minded about my position about the ultimate bill. You draw a red line and then you get stuck. You know, I'm not interested in getting stuck. Considering we have all 50 votes to get anything done, you know we're in a situation where one person can do that. It depends on your point of view, says Peter Welch, Democrat from Vermont. He's great. He's very big on elder care. You start from 3.5 trillion, you go down. You start from zero, you go up. The core components, climate change, helping families, extending access to healthcare, are all in there, and that's a huge success. Not really. They're not all really in there. Who's giving him the briefing on this one? The fascinating one is that, at least in this series of articles, when asked for a comment, Bernie Sanders wouldn't give one. Liz Warren says, I just want to see a good deal. Let's read between the lines on that quote. Meaning she hasn't been part of the negotiations, so she has going to have a part of the issue. That's important when you look at this recon, when you look at these provisions, is that the negotiations are among four people. Chuck, Joe, and Nancy, and that's it. You have Bernie tangentially, Jalapa on the outside, Chris and Sinema sporadically, and that's it. All these other people like Liz Warren, Bob Casey, they want to have something to say. They're not part of the negotiations, so guess what? They get what's marked up, even though they haven't gotten it yet. And they look at it and say, you left it out? No, I'm not going to do that. So Liz Warren says, I just want to see a good deal. She hasn't seen it yet. It's optimistic we're going to have enough good things in this package and enough good ways to pay for it that we're going to get a widespread report among the Democrats. So she's still optimistic, as you should be, as I am as well. Let's go over a little bit more about where those were all quotes today in the last few hours. Let's go over what is really a battle at the moment. One of the battles is the Medicare expansion. Very, very confusing provision. Joe Manchin wants it. Democrats wants it. But the problem is how it's written, and this is why people need to see the writing. They're currently not even at 20 pages of markup. Now, let me make clear. The recon has been written. It was passed in the subcommittee 3 weeks ago, and that was when it was 3.5. But when you're changing certain provisions like Medicare, you need to see this written up. Certain provisions like the weatherizing your home, you don't need to see it written up. You're just changing the number from 300 billion to 100 billion. This one you need to see written up. Why? Because currently, Joe Manchin has a great point. He's absolutely right that he wants it. He supports the program in the recon. But the problem is that the Republican-led states will not pay for it. So they'll offer it to their citizens, but they will not pay for it. So suddenly all the Democrat states are picking up the bill for the Republican states. And he says, my state can't afford that. Very, very well said. Then the issue about taxes, it's very fluid and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it, is that the president is still talking about negotiating with Joe Manchin on the tax part of the equation, but Joe Manchin already agrees upon this. So there's nothing to negotiate. Is the president window dressing? I don't understand. It's the Kristen Sinema part of the equation that's problematic. She does not agree upon the tax implication of how to pay for the recon. All right, now with that, let's go to the programs in, the programs out. And I got to tell you, it's a very fluid situation. It can change by the hour. And this update may be totally different by evening's LA. So join me in 2 hours from now. Child tax credit, definitely staying in there, but will be 1 year. $3,600 to $3,000 per child if you're a low-income family, and that means $60,000 or less annual salary. Community college, really unclear. 0 to out or 2 years or less. Pell's grant, definitely staying in there. Tax-free, and the grants for the college student. Dental, vision, and hearing, and the Medicare expansion. Really confusing. First, how to pay for it. That situation that Joe Manchin is addressing, which is very important. Dropping the eligibility age for Medicare. It looks like it's going to drop. It's 65 right now. They're looking to drop it to 55, Bernie or Bob Casey, 60. And then the dental, vision, and hearing, it's staying in there, but not the way they envision it. I'll explain that in a second. Paid leave. It looks like it's surviving, but every hour you look at the news, it looks like it's under jeopardy again. It will be, at the moment, 4 weeks low-income employees only per year. That's not what they originally had it at. They had it at 12 weeks, all employees, no matter what your salary was, and even self-employed and gig workers. Now only 4 weeks low income, and if you are low income, which may be $60,000 or less annual salary at that employer. Then, prescription costs, medication. Great news. It's surviving, but not the way we thought. We thought it was going to be all prescription medication. We thought it was going to be all parts of Medicare. Now it looks like they're going to do lower prescription medication just on Medicare Part B prescription-approved medication. Then, childcare is surviving, just short of years. Clean energy out, obviously. Health insurance surviving just short of. One person said his health care got canceled because he couldn't afford it. Please tell people how important this is. Send me a beautiful message on Instagram. This is for you, my friend. Healthcare health insurance credits will exist in there, not as long as they wanted it, but surviving. Housing aid survived. Wow, this is rent, mortgage, home repairs. Currently at 175. It was out. It was originally 300 billion. It's back in at 175. And home health care in. Great news. It's coming in at somewhere between 100 and 200. It was supposed to be 500 and then 250 with Bob Casey. It survived and is back in there. Wow. So there we go. There is a lot of breaking news. Part of the problem with the home health, with the dental, vision, and hearing is there's a lot of things problematic with the dental. First, the dental, if you made it law today, takes 5 to 6 years in order to implement. says Nancy Pelosi. So how do we do this? I don't know. And so there's a big problem. If they pass the dental today, it takes years to implement. In the meantime, you have nothing for dental. So what are their alternatives? Let's go over what they're looking at. One, removing the dental. I don't think that's going to happen. Two, doing vouchers for dental short term and then doing dental when it kicks in 5-6 years into the Medicare program. I don't like this because I don't think $800 a year as the annual voucher, which they're proposing for dental, is enough for seniors because dental procedures are more than $800, and that's not even one procedure per year. Bernie Sanders has said repeatedly over the last 74 hours, that these provisions are not coming out. The expansion of Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing is one of the most important provisions in the entire bill. I think this is where we're going to get a sense. Let me back. I'll leave this for later. I'll leave this for later when I give you my perspective of where the recon negotiations are going. We have some other provisions which are getting very fascinating, which are the paid leave still remains in jeopardy, but it is so controversial to remove it because the president ran on the platform he would give it to the American people, and Nancy Pelosi says it actually should stay in there. One of the provisions we know that's going out is SALT, the thing that I can never remember by heart because it's very hard to say. It is the cap on state and local deductions, is lifting the cap on the state and local deductions is not getting in there. So they are not lifting the cap on the state and local deductions. Then the Obama subsidies expansion is staying in there. And that is where we are right now. What is really getting peculiar as we sit at the moment is the drafting. It's very important because the recon was written 3.5 weeks ago in the subcommittee, and when it was $3.5 trillion. So what part of it do they have to write differently? Nothing, with the exception of whether it's like the dental, that we're going to do a voucher language instead of a short-term funding language. But everything else is just changing the number, 300 to 150 or 100 to 125. So the writing doesn't take a long time. The back-end writing does take a little bit of time, and I'm not quite sure where the back-end's going. It's just not clear. I don't think Joe Manchin, I don't think they know what's going on at the back end, which is the revenue part, the taxes. Corporate and wealth tax is in there. That's what's passed. It's in there. Joe Manchin supports it. The president supports it. We're on board with it. Problem is, Kristen is not on board with it. The back end hasn't been written. That's what Richard Neal said he was working on over the weekend. I don't want to see how you do this if there's no clarity on the situation. Meantime, Joe, there are certain provisions that have to be written. They have to be written until you look at it and say, wait a second, that's fine, that's not fine. Why am I bringing this up? What I'm bringing this up is that there are certain provisions that everyone can agree upon. 4 weeks of paid family leave. We can agree upon. We're done. The $175 billion for home health care. We can agree upon that. But when you look at certain provisions, they're very complicated, like Medicare expansion. We have certain states that won't pay for it, and you need to figure out how to pay for it. Joe Manchin's absolutely right. He says, I'm on board for it. I want to do it. But you have to write a certain way because some of the other stuff I've seen written in this bill, you can't actually implement. Meaning they hired someone in the White House to write something up and it doesn't actually work. And the president, when he looked at it, said, Joe's right. Who wrote this junk in here? It doesn't work. So Joe Manchin has a point. What is even more important about this is Joe Manchin does agree with the progressives about something. I need to see this recon bill. I need to see it in its format with all its policies that we all agree upon before we say yes. And guess what? The progressives say that as well. And that is why this end of this week is going to be very problematic. You know why. It hasn't happened yet, but I've been talking about it all week long. I will be talking about it. I can just hear the guy from New Jersey knocking on everyone's door. You know who he is, Gothenheimer, the representative Democrat from New Jersey, says, call the vote on the roads and bridges later this week. It's ready. No, we haven't. Well, yeah, you sort of agreed to the recon. You're almost done. You're sort of really there. It's all good. We're confident you're going to get it done. Just do our roads and bridges and we'll finish you up next week. No. And guess who's saying the same thing? Everyone else. So I love that everyone is on board, but the problem is that some of the stuff has to be written. All right. Now, with the running time out of control, as to be expected, there's a lot in this video. Let me go over student loan debt, let me go over COLA, and then let me give you my perspective of the situation, because I think at this point it's very important. Student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. The president forgave student loan debt 3 rounds in recent days, and now the president's made another offer, and the Democrats should take it. The president's offered $10,000 of student loan debt to be forgiven. Democrats should take it. This would be for everyone, all across the board, and that would not foreclose the Democrats from going back and asking for more next year. The president initially forgave student loan debt for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Your debts have been forgiven. Then the president forgave student loan debts for individuals who went to work in the nonprofit sector for 10 years after graduation. But the big win was when the president forgave student loan debts for people who went into the public sector for 10 years after graduation. Your debts are now forgiven in the last few days. This is city, county, state, and federal employees. Great news. You work at the post office. You work at public school teacher. You're a sanitation driver. You don't make enough money to get student loan debt forgiven. Now they are. But I think the Democrats should really take that last $10,000, or at least the next $10,000. Here we go. COLA benefits. Your benefits are going up 5 to 6% next year, but get ready, because you're going to have 2 other lifts after that. COLA benefits are going up 5 to 6%, which means the current check you're looking at that you get in the mail, you're never going to see again next year. Why? Because your checks are going up, but get ready, because FIS stimulus is right behind it. FIS stimulus will be that SSI, SSDI, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, multiple benefits reform. Step 1, they'll raise your benefits up again a second time. One big lift, one time. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark will be inflation. And guess what? Inflation is going to be 1 to 3%. Janet Yellen said yesterday, your Treasury Secretary. COLA next year may be 0. So let's do the analysis. First, you're going to go up under this one, COLA. Then if this stimulus kicks in, you're going to get that 1 raise on top of that. And then next year, the new benchmark inflation, you get a 3rd raise on top of that. Great news across the board. They're going to remove the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law, says you can't have more than $3,000 in hand. It's going to go away. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law, says you can't work and stay on benefits. It's going to go away. And finally, the marriage penalty, and love is going to win, and you will be able to get married and no longer fear loss of benefits. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The membership link is under the video. Consider becoming a member today and get that membership newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That membership newsletter is sent via the YouTube alert system and the LA Late alert system. The Monday newsletter came out late on Tuesday. My apologies to you because of the acclimate weather here. But that membership newsletter features all the big money under 1st, 2nd, and 3rd stimulus that you can get. Viewers of this channel continue to get big sums of money, and while I don't have time to cover the rent, utilities, and food and internet, reach out to the link under this video to become a member today to get that newsletter. It features all the big money, including the nonprofits, United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities that are helping for rent, utilities, home repairs like a broken window, very nominal repairs to make sure you're warm, free money for furnaces, electric heaters, and even refrigerators. Consider becoming a member today. And with that, as we go into the final minutes of this video, let me give you my perspective on the situation as we go forward. It's very interesting where we are right now. And the president had a recon that was stalled, very much stalled, 2 weeks ago. So what did he do? He looked at someone in the administration, in his White House administration, who had been stubborn about a clean energy provision and said, you know what? We're not going to get Joe Manchin on board unless we take this out. Take it out. And suddenly everything ramped up. Suddenly they went from nothing of this recon agreed upon universally to now 95%, maybe even 98% of the recon agreed to universally among all these Democrats. Now, 2% unagreed upon is something that can hold it up, of course. But if you look at what the problem is right now, is that the core issues of not the moderate Democrats, but the progressive Democrats that they were told to protect, that much of which were President Biden's campaign promises to the American people, that they said, if you take them out, it's a non-starter for them, are under fire. Very, very different situation. The thing that prevented Joe Manchin from coming to the negotiation table the last 2 weeks, clean energy out. And now the provision that is the bread and butter of the progressives, dental, vision, and hearing, jeopardy being removed. Yeah. What do I think about the situation? I think that if you don't get the dental, vision, hearing, Medicare expansion, Medicare paid for, dropping Medicare eligibility date, if you don't get this functionally, verbally agreed to and you don't get the writing of it functionally done, and you focus on a lot of other things, then I think you are not dealing with the biggest issue at hand. The biggest issue at hand is really that. If you're sitting back in your Nancy Pelosi, or you're sitting back or you're Joe Biden, or you're sitting back or you're Chuck Schumer, you know that you brought Joe Manchin to the table by solving his problem, which was clean energy. Well, now you have a problem with the progressives. Their number one provision, the reason why they wanted a recon, is in jeopardy of being removed. And no one has a solution to it. So my advice, at least the way I look at it, is I would not focus on paid leave. I would not focus on community college. I would not focus on those provisions which are not very complicated, not very difficult to solve. I would solve the most difficult provision right now, that one, the dental, vision, and hearing. Because if you don't solve the dental, vision, hearing, we'll just roll over another day and the news cycle looks the same way. Haven't solved dental, vision, hearing. Haven't solved it. Oh, we solved community college. Well, have you solved dental, vision, hearing? You haven't solved it. It's a big battleground because if you don't solve the critical issue for the progressives, then how have you progressed during the negotiations? The president was great that he invited Joe Manchin to Delaware on Sunday, but where is the conversation with the person who is seen as secretive? Her name is Sinema. Joe Manchin has gone from being how he is to where he always is. He tells you what he wants. He tells you what he doesn't want. That has been praised by Ro Khanna in the last 24 hours, saying, I like Joe Manchin. I don't necessarily agree with his policies, but I like him because I know what I want. Joe Manchin appearing on the Economic Council of D.C. this morning, giving a total briefing of what he doesn't like. It's good because you can negotiate and figure out where things go. Chris and Sinema, no appearance, no TV appearance. No Economic Council appearance. You don't know. You don't know. And so we're not doing 49 senators, we're doing 50 senators. So I would like the president to figure out how to bridge this situation across the board. And that is where we are. With the president, Pelosi, Schumer, Steny Hoyer last week saying that both bodies of legislation should get to a framework by the end of last week and that both of them should get to a vote this week. We have to hope that everyone involved in the equation, which at the moment has continued to say the same thing, they will not call the vote on the recon, if there is no vote on the recon. And they're not going to call a vote on the roads and bridges if there's no agreement on the recon yet. Keeps that promise to the American people. Remember the president's promise after the last time they tried to call the vote on the roads and bridges was, you're not going to call the vote on the roads and bridges ever again until we agree upon the recon. The recon is not agreed upon yet. It may be 98% done, but that's not enough. And so I would hope the president keeps his promise, Joe Manchin keeps his promise, and the progressives keep their promise to us. Do not call a vote on the roads and bridges later this week if the recon is still at 98% done, but not 100% done. And remember, done for purposes of negotiation is not done for purposes of us, because they have the opportunity to add things across the board during amendments on both the House and Senate side. So much across the board. You see the running time. It's been a big video, and I have a lot even more to say on top of that. Join me next on Evenings Lalate as I cover those incredible details coming up later today on this video and this channel. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Hit that subscribe button. I want you part of this incredible family with incredible depth of coverage. You can't miss a single video by the minute. I literally have almost 85 pages of notes on set today, and I think I got through maybe 11 of them. Consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Powers, Calcino VIP. So you get that newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. that features all the big money on the first, second, third stimulus you can still get. And I'll be bringing third stimulus back into the coverage of this channel later this week. And consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. I think I just said that. And join me next on Overnight's Crypto and Evenings Highlight coming up in 2 hours from now. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with Lalate for more.